Today's video is going to be a top 10 again, and this time it's going to be a top 10 horror films for beginners. So this list will be great for those who aren't really used to the horror genre but want to start watching more horror films. I will explain my reasonings for each of these choices because I feel like some people will say that's way too scary, gory, etc. to be on this list, but I have my reasonings for each one, and obviously you can make your own decisions. This is just my list of 10 that I think would be really good for specific people. If you are already a subscriber, then I assume that you probably already watch a lot of horror films, but maybe there are people in your life that you want to introduce horror to, so this could be a good start. Coming in at number 10, we have Nope. I love Jordan Peele and all of his films, but Nope is actually my personal favourite, and I also feel like it's the one with the least amount of horror elements. I would say it focuses more on sci-fi, so I would recommend this to a beginner who already likes sci-fi and adventure films. Nope does have a few scary moments, especially the monkey scene is quite intense, and in some other scenes like when the alien is passing by the house when all the lights go out and things like that. So there are some horror elements, but I wouldn't say this is really intense horror, and because the threat is kind of out there, it's very unrealistic, which makes it a lot less scary. Nope follows siblings who are living at their family's ranch and taking care of horses for their family business. Whilst they're staying at this ranch, some weird things happen. There is another parallel storyline about a child actor who had a traumatic experience when he was younger, but now he's grown up and he does shows not too far from where the siblings live. Nope just has such a fun story. It's so entertaining, the characters are so likable, and I feel like it is just a great film for anyone. You can rent Nope on Amazon Video, Apple TV and Google Play Movies. At number 9 we have Ready or Not. Although this one does have some gory scenes, the gory scenes are usually met with a comedic tone, so this one could be great for someone who is looking to watch something more gory but doesn't want it to be too intense, so the comedy that goes alongside with it could be really helpful. Ready or Not follows a couple as they get married, and then on their wedding night the bride is told that she has to play a game with the groom's family. She agrees to play a game and she has to take a card at random. Whatever card she takes, it has the name of the game that she has to play on it. Little does she know there is one card that isn't like the rest, and she ends up drawing that one. The card says hide and seek, so she agreeably goes to hide, not knowing that the whole of the groom's family are going to be hunting her with weapons, and they believe that if they don't kill her before sunrise, then something bad will happen to their family. This one is a bit bonkers. It's so much fun, it's really entertaining, it's just really not that serious. It stars Samara Weaving. She is incredible in horror films, especially horror comedies, so if you are looking for something that has a little bit of gore, has a bit of a chase, then this one might be for you. You can watch Ready or Not on Netflix. At number 8 we have Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. Again, like Ready or Not, this one does have some gore. It does have a slasher element to it, but I do think it is a slasher film that is great for beginners because it also is a horror comedy. I would specifically recommend this to people who keep up with current trends and use platforms like TikTok, just because you will understand the comedy a lot more. So Bodies, Bodies, Bodies follows a group of friends who decide to play a party game where at random they all get given a piece of paper that says if they are the killer or the victim. The victims have to go and hide, and then the killers have to go around, try to find them. It's basically a game of manhunt, but things end up going wrong and a real dead body is found. Suddenly everyone's a suspect, and you as a viewer have to go along this journey with them to find out what the hell is happening and who is doing this to them. I do think in this one the comedy outweighs the horror and the gore. When I saw this in cinema for the first time, I laughed out loud so many times. Bodies, Bodies, Bodies is available to watch on BBC iPlayer. At number 7 we have Christine. This is a horror film from the 80s. I feel like a great way to start watching horror is by watching older films, just because obviously the effects won't be as realistic as they are these days. And also a lot of 80s horror films are a bit bonkers and a bit over the top, so it does add a little bit more fun to them. This is a film by John Carpenter, who also did Halloween. Christine is about a killer car. I feel like when you hear the idea of this film, it sounds like it's going to be rubbish rubbish, but it is honestly an incredible film. So in Christine, we follow a teenage boy who gets a new car and decides to do it up. As he is restoring this car, he starts to notice some changes and some conscious behaviors from the car. As the car changes, so does he. He becomes a lot more arrogant and quite mean. It's now up to his friends to put a stop to this and get their old friend back. This is actually based off of a book by Stephen King. The practical effects and stunts are incredible. There is actually no CGI in this film. If you want to watch Christine, then you can rent it on Apple TV, Google Play Movies and Amazon Video. At number 6 we have The Silence of the Lambs. So I would recommend this film to people who have already watched crime thrillers. So maybe you are used to a little bit of gore and disturbing topics, then I would say this is a great step up from that. This film is very crime focused, and although there are horror scenes, it doesn't take over the whole film. The Silence of the Lambs follows Clarice, who is a student training to be in the FBI. She is trying to solve the case of a serial killer and decides to interview a criminal who is in prison to see if he can help her with the case. This criminal who she interviews is Dr. Hannibal Lecter. He is a psychopath. He is incredibly violent and a cannibal, but we don't really see too much of that in this film. This focuses more on the case that she is trying to crack. There is a whole Hannibal franchise, but this is definitely the best place to start, and I would say it is just more of a crime thriller. You can rent this one on Amazon Video, Apple TV and Google Play Movies. At number 5 we have Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. This film doesn't have much gore, but it does have a lot of different weird creatures and they are quite scary, but I would say this is more of a spooky Halloween film rather than being a straight up terrifying horror film. This is an anthology film, so there are kind of lots of different stories in this one film. This film is perfect to watch at Halloween or in October and autumn because it's just got such a cozy feel to it and there are so many weird and creepy creatures. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark all starts with a group of friends who decide to go into an abandoned haunted house on Halloween night. Once they do this, they unleash dark forces that they are unable to control. Although the creature design is really quite creepy and there is a creepy tone just throughout the whole of this anyway, I would say it's probably fine for a younger audience or for a beginner audience. Although it's scary, it still does have an element of fun to it. So if you think you would be okay with some weird creatures, then I think this one is fine for a beginner, especially if you're looking to watch more kind of creature features and films like It. I would say start with this one. You can stream Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark on Netflix. At number 4, this definitely won't be for everyone, but that is the film Fresh. So the reason why I chose this film, although it does have some more intense themes and especially some more gory scenes than the others that I've spoken about, is because it does have a comedic element to it. It has some satire. It does start out as kind of like a romantic comedy and then it kind of takes a spin, but it still stays really fun even when there are some more disturbing things going on. Fresh follows a woman who is just so sick of dating apps and dates that just lead nowhere. She's almost given up on dating completely until she randomly meets a man in a supermarket who asks her out on a date. This man, Steve, seems incredibly charming and after a few dates, he asks if she wants to go on a trip away together. She agrees to the trip, but whilst they're away, she starts to see a darker side to him. Fresh is available to stream on Disney Plus or Hulu in the States. At number 3, we have Killer Clowns from Outer Space. This is another 80s film and it is just so wacky and over the top that even though it is a horror film, I feel like it could probably be watched by most ages. So this follows aliens that look like clowns that have crashed into Earth and are causing absolute havoc. I guess the only thing is if you have a fear of clowns, then it probably won't be the best thing to watch because it's literally full of clowns, but the kill scenes aren't really that gory. It's more campy, silly fun. I really love the costume designs for the clowns. This is one of the films that I personally like to watch as a comfort film. I usually put it on when I've had a bad day or I'm not feeling that great. All the clowns have different personalities and looks, so I feel like that just adds another fun element and it makes it less scary. You can rent Killer Clowns from Outer Space on Amazon Video, Apple TV and Google Play Movies. At number 2, we have a film from the 2000s and that is Final Destination. This film does have a few kill scenes, but they're not overly gory. It doesn't kind of like hold the camera on anything too disturbing for too long. Some of the kill scenes are quite intense. One of the reasons why I think this is great for beginners is because there isn't really a physical threat. This may send some people into a existential crisis, but hopefully not. This one is kind of fun to play along with, as well as you can kind of tell when the kill scenes or attempted kill scenes are going to be. Even though it kind of like jukes you out a few times, you still kind of know something is going to happen. You just don't know what is going to happen. So Final Destination is a whole franchise, and all of these films are so much fun. I think the first one is probably best for beginners because it is the first one, so it's the oldest. It is one of the ones with the least amount of gore and crazy deaths. So Final Destination follows a group of students who are getting on a plane for a school trip, but one of them has a premonition that the plane is going to crash. He suddenly wakes from the premonition on the plane before it has taken off, and he totally freaks out and ends up getting kicked off the plane anyway alongside some other of his fellow students. And the whole premise of the film is that people start dying in the order and in similar ways that they would have died in the plane crash because they have cheated death. I'm sure most people have already seen this or know the premise, but if you are a beginner and are looking for something that's fun, that keeps you guessing, this is quite an interactive franchise. You can stream Final Destination on Amazon Prime. Now we are at number 1, and my number 1 choice for beginners is Totally Killer. So Totally Killer is a horror comedy. It is very, very reminiscent of Back to the Future. It's almost like a horror parody of Back to the Future because it does have so many similar elements and such a similar storyline. In Totally Killer, a serial killer returns 35 years later to claim more victims. 17-year-old Jamie travels back in time to when the serial killer was most active, and now she is determined to stop the killer before he even starts. The reason why this is my number 1 choice is because it is such a light-hearted film. It's almost like a teen horror film. I would put it in the category of films like Happy Death Day, Freaky, The Babysitter, that kind of thing, where they are probably more targeted towards teens, which also makes them great for beginners. And I personally really enjoy this type of horror film because it's such an easy watch. It's just something to throw on, and the kind of film where it doesn't use too much brain power. This being a slasher, it does have a little bit of gore, but as I said, I do think it is targeted to a younger audience, so it doesn't really take it too far. It is more of a comedy adventure film with a few horror elements. You can stream Totally Killer on Amazon Prime. So those are my top 10 horror films for beginners. If you have any suggestions that you think would be great for beginners, then please leave them in the comments so other people may be able to find some other suggestions. Obviously, if you are new to the genre and you are kind of scared or don't really know where to start, then you can always look up certain themes that you want to avoid, or maybe just start with some films that are more spooky and Halloweeny rather than straight up horror. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again in the next one.